Hello, everyone. Welcome to LIBOR's Wednesday webinar. My name is Mary Ann Monteleone, Vice President of Professional Development, and we're happy to be here with you today. We have a guest here with us, backed by popular demand, Betsy Coyne. Tell you a little bit about Betsy, and then we'll turn it over to her to tell us about the latest and the greatest new features in Zoom that you can use in your business. So Betsy is a technology educator and coach and has specialized in technology training for over 30 years. As an international Zoom instructor, she has trained thousands of people and realtors how to connect, teach, and manage business in a virtual world. So we welcome Betsy back. Betsy, I turn it over to you and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Mary Ann. And hi, everyone. I welcome you back. For those who have seen me here before, welcome back. And for those just joining into my first webinar with you, welcome. I can't wait to hear what your questions are. Today's topic is all about Zoom's newest updates and features. And yes, Zoom gets updated from time to time. That's what's good to know. So today you are joining in what's considered a Zoom meeting. And what that means for us is that everybody's video can be on or off, and the meeting is running in your Zoom application. Now, your Zoom application is either on your computer, if you're coming into the meeting today from a computer, or on your mobile device. So if you're coming in from a tablet or a phone, then you're using the app, which is on that device. So for those of you who are on a computer, I want you to follow along here and look in your upper left corner and locate that there's this tiny green shield. In my slide here, I've indicated with a circle where that is located. In the upper left corner, there's a shield. Once you click there, it'll open up. This is just a screenshot, but it's opening up a window or a box that indicates what meeting you're in, what meeting ID you're in. And then there's this little shield or a little gear symbol, excuse me, which is for the settings. And I want you to go ahead and click there. So where I'm leading you towards is how to figure out what your version is in Zoom. So people always ask me that, well, Betsy, if you're talking about updates, how do I know if I am up to date, or how do I know what version I have? So here's a way to locate it. Once you go to that tiny green shield and then the settings icon, it will display this screen. These are your Zoom app settings. And this is not the same on a phone or on a tablet. So this would only be for computer. You can see in the bottom, it indicates what your version is. So what I'd like you to do for me is in the chat, locate the chat button in your Zoom toolbar and put in there what version number you see there. And if you don't see it, or you don't know, you can put that too. I don't know. That's fine too. That helps me to know what you're seeing or what you're not seeing. I am a Zoom expert and instructor. So I teach these tools and built-in features all the time. So now's the time to also put your questions in the chat if you have them. And from time to time throughout our webinar today, I will I'll respond to those. I'll look to the questions and see what you have. So as we go through there, I can see that you've got a variety of different values there. And I'm going to tell you that you should have something such as, 5.8 would be a current number. So far, I see 5.7s, which is great. Anybody like with a lower number, 5.2 or 5.3 would mean maybe you've had Zoom for a while and you haven't updated it. And if you are still seeking, what is she doing? Where is she locating that tiny green shield? You can also put that in the chat. Where is it? And I will circle back to you. So why is this so important to know what your Zoom version is? It's because today I'm going to go through some of the features that are new. And in order to get the new features, you need to be updated. and your Zoom updates can be gathered from the Zoom website. I also have a YouTube video on how to do it. You can update right from your Zoom application. So what I'll do is when we get to the Q&A at the end, I'll put that link to my YouTube video in the chat. Or if Marianne or Laureen, if you know that link, you can certainly put it in the chat. You can't update it right now while we're all on together. So I'll give it to you at the end. Now, it's always good to go through the Zoom toolbar. And that's where you're going to see the buttons that change from time to time. Any new features often are going to show down there in the Zoom toolbar. So of course, we start off and you need to know whether you're muted or you're unmuted today. And that is with the first button on the bottom left corner. When you are conducting business and you bring in possibly your buyer or your seller, maybe you're having a seller seminar and you're having people in your own Zoom meeting, these are often some good tools for you to communicate to your audience, because you would want them to know how they could mute themselves, shut off their mic, and then unmute themselves. Next to the mute and unmute button, of course, it said start video or stop video. So for those of you today who are attending this meeting with your video off, then you can turn your video on. I would love that. I love to look around. You might see me look to the left. I do have an extra monitor, an extra computer monitor, that is an extra computer screen, where I see people's video thumbnails. Now, typically, this is Webinar Wednesday, isn't it? And when it's a webinar using the Zoom webinar feature, everyone's videos are off. That's how it's set up. That's what a webinar is. No one is on microphone and no one is in video. I specifically, when we set up these with Marianne, I specifically request that we do this in a meeting, because when you're conducting your business, you're going to be in a meeting as well, most likely. And the meeting feature is what you get when you have a free Zoom account anyway. The webinar feature is extra. So it's always good to know how to run a meeting where people's video could be on, and then you can guide them how to turn it off. Now, the next feature in the Zoom toolbar is regarding how you look in the thumbnail. So these little video squares, as we look around, I can see people's names. And oftentimes you might want your buyer, your seller, Mr. or Mrs., doctor, or so on. You might want them to put their name exactly as they would like to be addressed during the meeting, or maybe for any type of paper trail that you would like how their name should be. Now, we're not talking about signing any contracts in the meeting, but it's a way to have communication professionally. And you can use these tools to help you along. Now, this is how you would rename your name today with me. So I thought, let me show you, and then you could guide your own participants when you conduct business in your own Zoom meeting. And how do we do that? Well, if you locate yourself on the screen in the gallery view, now I know you're seeing my shared screen mostly. So the where you see yourself is most likely positioned maybe on the side of the screen. It's very possible. If you see only me, then you might be in what's called speaker view. And don't worry about that. I'm going to get that to that in a minute. But if you do see yourself, hover over that video square, video thumbnail, and click on the three dots that you see in the upper right corner, and you'll be able to rename. There's an option right there. And what that does is it opens up a box so that you can maybe make any changes if there's a typo. Sometimes people come into meetings and their computer names their name for them, or their phone names their name for them. If you are on a phone, this option looks a little different. You would have to tap your screen, and then you'll see the three dots or more up in the upper right corner, typically. So sometimes it's in a little different spot, but it's still there for you to use. Now, back to your toolbar. One of the newer features is called reactions. Now, it's considered newer because Zoom wanted to bring together the ability to do what we do outside of Zoom. What do? We pick up our phones and we do a lot of texting. Most likely you're texting. Maybe you're on social media and you're using emojis to communicate. You use the little smiley face or the heart, or you do applause or a thumbs up. Very common are these emojis. Well, Zoom has brought that feature, the emojis, into the Zoom toolbar. And those are located at the bottom. Again, if you are on a computer, it's located just like my slide is showing here. Go ahead and click on reactions now and click on one of those 6 icons. You see applause, you see thumbs up, you see laughter. That's what the third one is. You see surprise. There's a heart for love. You want to give me a little love? Give me a little love, a little heart there. And then there is a celebration. So are you celebrating that you're here with me, learning all the new features? You can click on a celebration. Now, what that's doing, as I look to all of your video thumbnails, some are partaking and some aren't. So if you want a little more time, go ahead and look for reactions in your Zoom toolbar. If you're on a mobile device, then go ahead and tap your screen. I'm going to guide you to it because I don't have a screenshot of that, but if you tap your screen and then tap on either more or participants, one of those will lead you to where the emojis are located. And then you can give us your emotion as well. So one thing you may have noticed while I was talking is that the emoji appeared and then it disappears automatically. These are temporary. It's like when the banner appears on your phone when you have a notification and then it disappears. It's very much like that. It's not persistent, which means you don't have to turn it off once you've turned it on. Furthermore, there's more emojis. If you click on that little 3 dots after the celebration, you get the full database. Now, it may or may not be there. I'm doing a screenshot. Let me try. We are in the LIBOR account, and I did tell Ethan, ahead of time all the settings that I wanted to be turned on. This is actually a setting to have the whole database of emojis available to you. So if you get into your own Zoom meeting and you're trying this out prior to having, maybe a business meeting or a buyer or seller meeting or seminar, you may want to try it out ahead of time. This is a setting, so you'd have to go to your Zoom account online and just turn it on. It's simple on off to have all of the emojis. Why would you want that? It's just a way. Some of you may want to have fun in here. You want to beat Zoom fatigue and have a little Zoom fun instead, then the emojis can really bring that. It's just a simple way to bring it in. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat. I do see Latifa, if I look there, you're probably looking for the version. If you did join us a little bit after the start, I went over the little tiny green shield that you see in the upper left corner of your screen. And that's what led us to find the version number once you go into settings. So if you want to stay till the end and I can go over that, please do. All right, so now using those reactions, if you open up your reactions again, I have a question for you. And that question, I'd like you to answer using one of the reactions. Now, not the heart, not the applause, not the celebration. Look in the next row. There is a green circle with a check mark and a red circle with an X. So what I'd like to know is this. Have you conducted business on Zoom in the last month? If you have, give me a green check mark. If you haven't, give me a red. Just gonna disable that for a minute. So you're going to locate your reactions button in your toolbar. You're going to click there. I'm just going to go back a minute just for those who need to see that. So here we are again. There's the reactions button down on the toolbar. You're going to click there. It's going to reveal this first pop-up. And in that first pop-up, you see in the second row, a green circle and a red circle. And so the question is, have you conducted business in the last month using Zoom virtually? I'd like to know that. Some of you are here learning because you're like, I'm not doing it yet. And if I got on Zoom, I'd have a lot more leeway. in order to conduct business virtually. But there's some things about Zoom that I don't know yet, so I'm not comfortable. Is that you? And you haven't conducted business on Zoom in more than a month? Give me a red X or red circle. Thank you so much for those who are participating. I can look around as you can and go through all the video squares. I can even see a tally of there's 8 of you who have it. It's about 50-50. So it's very nice for me today as your instructor to be able to go through and highlight some things, especially if you haven't been looking at Zoom in the last month. Now, I did see someone raise their hand, which is perfectly fine. In that same reactions box is also a raise hand button. Well, I'm not going to call on you now, but if you go ahead and try it, you can click the raise hand. It's a great way to virtually simulate somebody putting their hand up. And just go ahead and try it. You'll see your name will move to the top left corner of wherever you see the gallery of people. Thank you. And that also stays on until the speaker or agent or broker calls on you. So that's a great way, keeping everybody muted, to say, if you have a question about what I'm presenting, please go ahead and raise your hand. And it's a great way to control this virtual environment, right? We're not all in a room physically with one another. And then you would go ahead and just click lower hand, and then that would go away. So as I look around, if you do have a question, keep it up, and I will call on you at this time. So, okay, well, thank you. So you're trying it out. Wonderful. I've got 50-50. I'm looking back at my numbers, and I know some of you may have turned off your green circle. I'm going to clear all the feedback right now. Beautiful. All right, so we are all, you're all in the right place. Let me tell you, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the next feature in the participants list. So there's a participants button in your toolbar. Go ahead and click there, and that will show you the names of everybody that's in your meeting. So if you don't want to look to the gallery and have to look at everybody's video thumbnail, you don't have to. You can just look to the participants list. This is just a screenshot, but it also tells you who has their hand raised. It also tells you who reacted in certain ways. So you can get a full listing there. If you don't want to go by the gallery, you can go by the participants list. And you'll see that you are listed at the top. So that's how you know how your name is showing up in the meeting, you, the host. And you also see who has their hand raised. You can also hover over your name and rename yourself there. So that's another way to do it. Lots of features in multiple ways that you'll find. You'll also see those reaction symbols. And then as a host or co-host, if you are the host of the meeting or a co-host, you will see a tally of who responded with smiley faces or hearts, or, you know, if you were asking a question very similar to how I asked, you can see a tally like that at the bottom. All very helpful. And these are newer features that you may not be using yet in your Zoom meeting. So also, let's go on this a minute. If you are the host or the co-host, and by the way, there's only one host of a meeting. You are the host if you created the meeting and started it. You're also the host, or you could be the host if you came into a meeting and the person who was maybe in charge of the association or the company made you the host. So they can do that, but there's only one host at any time. And that's done with this menu. So the host can go in, hover over someone's name, and make them the host. It's in the menu there. Once that's done, the host responsibilities are handed over. They're turned over to the other person. However, let's talk about co-hosts. That's also a feature. So if you're the host of the meeting, you can make another person the co-host. And what that does is it gives them almost all of the same responsibilities and features. So they'll have many of the same menu options that you have as the host. So it's a great way to bring somebody else into your meeting. And once again, I keep going over, like, maybe, you might want a seller seminar where you have multiple rooms set up. I'm going to be getting to breakout rooms in a moment. And you might want to have some helpers. So each helper goes into a separate breakout room, which is really like a physical other room, but it's virtual, just simulates it. And you can have as many co-hosts as you want. Very nice. And we all see these options in the participants list only if you're a host or a co-host. So if you're trying to look for them now, they won't be there. But when you go after this, I recommend that you go and you start your own meeting in your own Zoom application without anybody there, and start it up, and then grab your phone and have your phone join your own meeting. And you'll be able to play around with these options for practice. You can also invite in some colleagues if you would like to practice that way. It's a great way to see the features prior to doing it for real. All right, so moving on to the next feature, which is the chat. Now, this is not a new feature. It has been around for a while, but I'm going to touch on some features that you might not know about. Now, I'm going to just clear the screen for a minute. Okay, great. There we go. Now, the chat. Most of us, and today I could see there were those who put their version number in there. But for those who didn't take part yet, maybe you're just attending today, you're just listening. This is where I'd like you to follow along and maybe turn your eyes to the screen and try this out. Find the chat button and go ahead and click it. And it will open up a box. This is a screenshot of it. And at the bottom of the box is an area, you can see my yellow arrow pointing to it, where it says type message here. And I'd like you to click there or tap there if you're on your mobile device, and tell me, because I don't know you, I'm meeting you, many here for the first time. If I look around and see your name, some of your names ring a bell from when I was here in July. But I'd like you to tell me, for those of you who said, yes, I did business in the last month, when was it? So when were you last on Zoom? So you can say a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Thank you, Syed, I believe it is. You're meeting me for the first time. You can say that too. You can say hello. And Brunilda, thank you. Never. I love that. Oh, welcome. I want to teach you everything about Zoom, please. And then Angela, thank you. 2 days ago, this morning, beautiful. Yesterday, Monday, wonderful. Thank you so much. And never, if this is your first time in here, welcome, welcome. And put your questions in the chat. I can't wait to tell you everything I know about this application, which I've spent almost about 2 years now. It was at the beginning of 2020 when I started teaching this to the real estate industry to help everyone keep their businesses going because of the pandemic and the worldwide shutdown. So I am in it every day, and I can't wait to tell you what I know. If I haven't already met you, welcome. Now, here's the thing. Right now, when you put all that in there, if you look in the chat, it says your name and that you wrote that to everyone. There is a way where you can see that. You can see a little message right above where you typed, and it says, who can see your messages? So Zoom has put this feature in there. Might be good to point that out to your buyer or seller, whoever's coming into your meeting, to say, just want you to know when you put it in the chat, it is viewable by everyone if there's a collection of people who are present. And so Zoom has added that. If you click there, it does give you a disclaimer, so that you can see, everyone in the meeting can see and save your messages, so that you know that. And yes, everyone in the meeting can see and save your messages. That's what I wanted you to know, is that you can actually use these buttons in the bottom right corner of the chat. So focus your eyes there for a minute and notice there's a little smiley face. And if you click on that little smiley face, you get the emojis again. And the emojis allow you to communicate with me in the chat with an emoji. Now, this is just like texting. So if you were to give me an emoji, I'll just give you about 10 seconds to find one right there on the opening screen. give me an emoji for what you're feeling right now. Be honest. You're in Zoom, some are here for the first time. And are you excited? Are you scared? Are you worried? Do you feel cool? You want to put some sunglasses on? Just give me an emoji there. Laureen's hungry. I would like some pizza. Can we meet on the east side, Laureen, and we'll go get some pizza? I'd like that. Oh, by the way, I'm in northern New Jersey, for those who didn't know that, and I love my New York pizza. So thank you so much. So as we go through, I can see you're finding those emojis, and you click on them, and you can also search if like Laureen did, she searched for pizza, and there is a search box there. So if your favorite hobby was roller coasters, you could look for Carnival if you wanted to. I'm just making that up. I don't know if that's there. And then, yes, I can see some of you are chatting with me privately. And so if you wanted to share your emotion with me privately, you don't want everybody to see, you can click on that little box which says everyone, and that will change to only the hosts and the co-hosts are choices, I believe. I didn't ask Ethan that setting, but that's a setting in your account. Don't put any questions to me privately. If you would, just put them to General or to Marianne and Ethan, because they will respond. I may not have the chat up the whole time. All right, so the other button that's in the bottom right corner there, it's little 3 dots, and that lets you save the chat. Now, I particularly asked for this setting to be on so that you could experience this. I think as agents and brokers, or if you're heading into maybe doing some real estate instruction, or you're doing that already, this is a great feature. I will save the chat today because I would like to go back and see what everybody's comments were. Maybe someone had a question that I didn't get time to respond to, and I will see your name there and the question. If you're in a business meeting, you can use this as a paper trail. You could ask people to put in the chat, you know, their legal name or how they would like their name on the contract. Once again, we're not signing contracts in the meeting, we're just talking. And some of that information that you want gathered can be put in the chat. And then later on, you will have a document very much like this. This is a screenshot, but it's a sample of what you get. You get a text file. So it's like easily something that can be opened up in a word processor or something like that. Very helpful. So now I would like to know, using your emojis in the chat, give me a thumbs up if you have saved the chat before today, and give me a thumbs down. I'm just guessing. Do we have a thumbs down? We probably do. Let me see. I'm going to search on thumbs. We do. If you search on thumbs, there you go. So if you've not saved the chat prior to today, and this was an aha, then give me, I'm going to change it up for you. Give me a celebration or a smiley. That's easy to grab. Give me a smiley if you're now celebrating that you have now learned to save the chat. And the chat goes to your local computer. So for those on a mobile device today, tablet or mobile device, saving the chat is not an option. There is no place for it to go. On a computer, however, when you save the chat, it goes to your local computer. So thank you for those who played along there. You got your thumbs up, your thumbs down, your smileys. If you're ahas, you're noticing, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Now I can save the chat and I'll have a record of that. I've been mentioning ahas. And if you're a broker here today, possibly, and maybe you have a team meeting, or you're putting together a meeting with multiple people, and even if you're an agent here today and you're going to have your buyers and sellers in a room together, like I mentioned, maybe with some sort of seminar that you're going to hold, or state of the market. That's another great way to use Zoom, is to show a state of the market with possibly pictures and, like I mentioned, separate rooms. But here's the thing: if you have people and you want to gather from everyone their ahas, or I didn't know that, if you just put in the chat, I didn't know that, I would have to scroll particularly to find it. If, however, you put an exclamation point in front of your phrase, then I'll be able to glance over there and see it very clearly. The same thing that goes with a question. If you have a question today, if you start it with a question mark, then I'll be able to glance in the chat and see it very easily. So this is a little trick or a little tip that you can use and take it on yourselves. I'm going to give you a little notation. If you wanted to unmute yourself very easily, you could try holding down the space bar, and the space bar will open up your mic temporarily while you're holding it. And then you can speak kind of like a walkie-talkie, and then you can release the space bar. So if you wanted to, instead of having to use your mouse and finding that mute or unmute button, you could do that. And if you wanted to try it, you could certainly try it. You don't have to speak out, but you could certainly hold the space bar and you'll notice your little microphone symbol on your video square. Remember, find yourself on the screen and you'll see where you're located. Your little microphone will change from the little red microphone, meaning you're muted, and it will disappear. So something like that, if you had a aha right now, go ahead and put that in the chat. If you wanted to message me privately, which is a direct message, you've learned that with the everyone button at the bottom. Wonderful. So now another feature, which is new to Zoom, is how you can view a meeting. And your view button, go ahead and find that. This is going to be specifically if you're on a computer, and if you're not on a computer today and you're on a mobile device, you're going to swipe the screen if you want to go from speaker view to gallery view. But if you're on a computer, you're going to find that view button in the upper right corner, and you're going to see something like this. Not both, one or the other. It could say speaker view or gallery view, and it has a little check mark. Or it might be next to standard, or it might be next to side by side. What I want you to try out is the different views while I'm talking. So right now I'm sharing my screen. And so most likely you might be viewing this in side by side mode, either with me, the speaker, or with the gallery. What does that mean? My slide is on one side of the screen and the gallery is on the other. Or my slide's on one side of the screen and the speaker only, me, the one making the noise, is on the other. So all you do is you click on the option you would like to see how that works, like click on side by side gallery. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at that. I see the first 6 people in the gallery on the right side of my screen, and I see Betsy's slide. If, however, you want to see just me, you don't want to see everybody else, then you would click on side by side speaker. Go ahead and give me an aha or a question mark in the chat if you have a question about that, or if you have a eureka about that you never knew there was a side by side mode. If, however, today you are joining in on a computer where you have another computer monitor, another computer screen, you will not have side by side as a choice. People who have 2 computer screens, and yes, that is coming to be a common setup, you can just put the people on another screen. So Zoom doesn't give you the side by side. But those of us who are on a laptop, great for laptops because the screen is so small, somewhat smaller than a regular computer monitor. The side by side gallery lets you see the people on one side and the presenter's screen on another. Now, here's the key. If I wasn't showing you my screen, then this is just a screenshot off of the Zoom site. It would look something like this. And yes, Brunilda, thank you for your question. You find it on an iPad or a phone differently than this. The iPad, the people are shown in the bottom right corner. There's like a little box where you see me talking, and then there's a little plus sign, and you can expand out from speaker to gallery. If you're on a phone, you're going to swipe the screen, and that lets you go from me, speaker, to the gallery. It's a little different because your mobile device screen is so small. So it it really is great to do business on Zoom, but it's much more fun when you have a computer because you have more landscape, more space on the screen. But this is what it looks like when you have speaker view and you're not in full screen. So you might see me talking and then the people in the meeting above it. I'm going to turn off my screen share in just a moment. You'll be able to try it out. This is another view called gallery view. We've come to know this if you've been in Zoom meetings and no one is sharing a screen. We've come to call this Hollywood Squares mode. I've heard people call it that, or Brady Bunch mode. I've heard people call it that. So just wanted you to know the definition: speaker view versus gallery view. And the new features are not only side by side. Here's a demonstration of it where you can scroll from left to right, but you can also, when you're in full screen, you can view the gallery with those buttons. So depending on what you're looking at, you might have the video squares where you can view them in one speaker at a time. You can view them as a strip, so they are down sort of narrow, and then finally as a gallery. And why do they give us all these choices? Well, it's so that I want you to make your screen comfortable. I want you to situate your screen, especially when you move on to be the presenter or have already. Now, one of the new features is called focus mode. And focus mode is only available to the host or the co-host. But what this does is it takes the focus off of everyone looking at everybody else. Now, today's meeting, actually, as I look around, a majority of you have your video off. But I want you, I'm going to turn on focus mode just to demonstrate it. You can also see in my slide here, it's located not on your screen, but when you go to run your own meeting, it's located in the bottom right corner under More. And when you go ahead and click on More, it chooses, it chooses this focus mode. Now I'm going to start it right now. It's temporary, so I can turn it on and then I can turn it off. Now watch what happens when I turn it on. Focus mode is where the participants will only see the host's video, host and co-host video, and shared screens. Watch. So I just started focus mode. And what has happened is you see yourselves, you still see yourself, you still see me, and you probably see Marianne, and you probably, well, Ethan has his video off and probably Marianne has her video off. So anybody who's a host or a co-host, you will see, and then you will still see my shared screen, but everybody else, their video goes off when you're in focus mode. Now, the name gives it the reasoning. It's focus mode. So if you don't want to have everybody looking at everybody's video, focus mode turns it off so that a participant can't see another participant. And then all you would do is you would turn focus mode back on after you were done with that segment. Maybe you wanted, I told Ethan this earlier and Marianne when we were warming up, I said, focus mode, it really brings the Zoom meeting closer to the Zoom webinar feel because everybody's video is off in a sense, but you still see yourself and you still see the speaker. Now I'm going to stop focus mode, and participants who started their video will see everybody. So you still have the control over whether your video shows to everyone or not. That's with your start video button. But the host and co-host now have the ability to turn off everyone's video so that you can't see one another. And that's called focus mode. It's a brand new feature. I'm gonna suspect that you're going to use that in your meetings, especially if, are there any brokers here? You can give me a reaction. I can look around if there are brokers present. If you are going to have if you are a team leader position and you do have Zoom meetings where you bring in a team and you are using Zoom for that purpose, thank you. So there are a few present. Then Focus mode may be very helpful depending on the size of the audience. If it's a very small audience, then you can certainly control it by using the start and stop video. Now, there is a new feature with screen share. And if you were with me in July, you remember I told you about these three very important principles for screen sharing. And once you've prepared and you've quit everything and you've started your Zoom meeting, you get to that screen share button. What Zoom has added now is at the bottom here, you can see this feature right there. It says share to breakout rooms. So when you have a breakout room, you can take your PowerPoint slide, if you're using that, and share it directly into a breakout room. Now I'm going to do that here with you. I have about 10 minutes left here. I'm going to clear this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up breakout rooms. There we go. Get my mouse disappears. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up breakout rooms momentarily, very briefly. So for those here who are in Zoom for the very first time, I would like you to experience what a breakout room feels like and how it works. So in a sense, you're in the main meeting room with me now. You are going to go to a new room just for a few minutes. And you'll see that in that room, you won't be able to hear me. You'll be in there with some other people. And the reason to get to know this is that when you have your own meetings, you can put buyers in one room and sellers in another if you want. You can put the buyers together. Maybe you have just two rooms. And so they can talk amongst themselves, and anything that's said in the breakout room cannot be heard by anyone in the main meeting room. So it's a great way to simulate, what if we were all in a physical building together, and you wanted to simulate having everyone in like maybe little rooms where they could close the door and have their own conversations, or in a sense, you know, if you want them to conduct an exercise or see a presentation, you can do that as well. You can have different presentations going on in these different rooms. So what's going to happen now is I will group you, by maybe 3s and 4s, groups like that. And when I count down, I'm going to say ready, set, go. And then you'll see your screen will change a minute, and then you'll end up in the breakout room. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen in there with some steps for you to do. I want you to experience that. Are there any questions before we do that? It's going to take 2 minutes. And then I'm going to click a button, which will give you a timer, which will say the breakout rooms are now closing. So for those of you who are brand new to it, enjoy. I don't see any questions in the chat. So on the count of 3, I'll click the open button. 1, 2, 3. And the host stays in the main room. So for the recording, I always like to speak to the recording, and everyone gets moved to a breakout room. And what I will do is show you the screen when you come back, so that I can show you that as the host or co-host, you can okay. Now I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring up the screen that I want them to see. Okay. There we go. I'm going to do this. And share the screen. Okay, I'm going to share. And at this time, so just for the recording, for those watching back on the recording, I chose the share screen option, and I indicated that I would like this shared into the breakout rooms. So they are all seeing this same instruction in the breakout rooms at this time. Now, Matthew, I see you're here in the main meeting room. If you want to put in the chat, whether you want, sometimes your internet strength is not that strong and it doesn't send you into the breakout room. That's possible. What I can also do here is I can say 1 minute to go. So 1 minute to go. And then I can broadcast that. And then what I can do here is close the rooms. So what they're seeing is the breakout rooms exercise. And okay, so they are in there. And then now I'm going to close all rooms. All right. And as you come back, all right, welcome back. Welcome back. All right, there's still 39 seconds left. What people are allowed to do is some rooms, they let that timer run out. And in other cases, they click leave. And that's always a great experience for, and I can see I can see from the participants number that there are rooms that are waiting for that timer to run out. And if you want, you can raise your hand. I'll wait till everybody's back. There's just a few seconds left. And I did speak to the recording. Here comes everyone. Welcome back. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed your breakout room experience. This is a screenshot of what I see as the host or co-host and how that was done with the assigning automatically. I didn't pick people's names. I just picked at random and told Zoom how many rooms I wanted. And then it does have these other options to assign manually, or you could let people choose. So if you did have a seminar, you could have one room called buyer and one room called seller. I believe I talked about that in the summer. And then they're easily created. So is there anyone in that experience who has a question? You can certainly raise your hand. If you were in a breakout room and you were wondering what to do when you got there, you did see the new feature, which was I shared my PowerPoint slide into the room. Yes, Leping, we want to go ahead and unmute. Yes, hi.
I don't have share room breakout button.
Yes, good question. So because today you're here as a participant, you don't have that button. So good catch. You only have the breakout room button or the share to breakout room button if you have been able to be a host or a co-host. Once you're a host or a co-host and you have breakout rooms in progress, then you'll be able to share to them. So what I advise you to do after today to try this out, this is so much fun, these new features, is start a new meeting on your own. Invite in maybe your team members, colleagues, someone who will practice with you. If you can't get that, then I use my extra devices. I use my computer and my laptop. Sometimes I use my phones even just to get extra people into my own meeting. And once you can have multiple people, then you can break out. So as the host, Leping, you will have the breakout rooms button once you're the host. And then these are, yes, you have another question?
No, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So these are other options that you see when you're a host, and you do see all of the rooms. You do see what the rooms are called, and then you do have options to allow people to return to the main session at any time if you want them to move about, or you can auto close them. So as the host, if you need to go into one of the rooms because you're part of the presentation, you can have the rooms close at any time automatically. And then there is that timer, very helpful timer, where you saw the countdown. And then I had you move automatically. This is a big one. And this is a feature which is very new to people, in that if you've been in meetings where you had to click join, it's because this setting wasn't chosen. So if you want to just say 3, 2, 1, go and have people go to the breakouts, you need to go in here and turn on that automatically move, and it'll work that way. All right, so that's the join message, which I included in here in case you were wondering where that was. Okay, so now I'm just going to jump ahead to the other feature called Zoom apps. And the Zoom apps, I had some slides in there about creating meetings, which if you have questions at the end, you're welcome to stick around, but I kept them in there just in case if that was happening. But one of the other new features that Zoom has added is called Zoom apps. And the apps button would be at the bottom of your screen on a computer, as long as the apps setting is turned on. You may or may not see this today. And the reason is, if you are in an application signed on as your Zoom account and you have the setting on, it would be on. What I wanted to do is teach you about it. So not that you need to go find it. I want you to know that Zoom added this feature very recently. And so as a person leading a business meeting in this virtual environment, now you have this capability to turn on these extra apps that get integrated directly into your Zoom application. This is just a small screenshot of the ones that are there. If you had an account in SurveyMonkey, if you had an account in HubSpot, I could go, there's many. And so what I would want you to do after today's meeting is go in and click on Discover, as shown here, and just scroll through the list. The one that I picked was the timer. It's a very, it's somewhat simple app to show you, because being able to use a timer in a meeting to show, okay, right now I'm gonna have a discussion or a presentation. Please, take 5 minutes to do that. And you can actually turn on the timer on the screen like this, and then share it in. And when the timer's up, a sound goes off. There are whiteboard apps that you can turn on, and it's all from this new Zoom apps feature, which was not available just a little more than a month ago. So that's one that I would like you to look for. Thank you, Karen, for your question. So going over how to create a virtual background, I wasn't going to go over that, but I can certainly go through that with time allotted. We're getting to the end of the hour. I can talk to Mary Ann. We might want to put virtual backgrounds as a feature. There is one a featured topic in a future webinar. There is one called Immersive View, which is a host capability that you can use as a virtual background. But I think what you're talking about is if you want to use the virtual background and change it behind you, then I can lead you into that if need be. Let me just first finish up the apps here. I can see Mary Ann's question: how do you turn on the apps in Zoom? So what you need to do, okay, thanks, Karen, I see that. So what you need to do first, I'm going to switch here and just go live to the web. And so I'm live now in my Chrome. This is my Chrome. And I'm going to go to zoom.us. In Chrome, you can be in Safari, you can be in Windows, Edge. Go to the internet, go to zoom.us. What you need to do is sign into your Zoom account. And once you do that, let me just minimize this here. Once you sign into your Zoom app. Now you're going to need to do that with the email and password that you used when you set up the account. Make sure if you have multiple accounts that you're signing into the correct account. And once you've signed in, you're going to go to your settings. And you'll see that along the left-hand side. So I am live now on zoom.us. And then you see across here, across the top, there's meeting, recordings, auto conferencing, collaboration, and then finally Zoom apps. So we're in the settings of your Zoom account on the web. And then once you turn on Zoom apps there, you can see it's just an on-off button on the right there. That will give you the ability to turn them on in meeting. And then what you're going to do is from your Zoom toolbar, you'll be able to go back to my PowerPoint where I captured these screenshots. So right here, if you look there to the bottom where that pink arrow is pointing, you will have an apps button. So after you've turned it on the web, you're going to come into your meeting, you'll click apps there. This right sidebar opens where you see the two tabs, My Apps and Discover. And then you go from there. So you scroll down to see the apps you want. Now I'll tell you something, if you want, you can, I'm just going to flip back to the internet for you. You could go to Google. You want to explore these on the web and just go to Zoom Apps Marketplace. Zoom Apps Marketplace. Now make sure when you go to the web that you're on zoom.us. I don't want you to be on any third party. You can see that you're on Zoom's website up at the top, marketplace.zoom.us. And this is a great way to explore all the different categories of Zoom apps that are out there. It does break them down by productivity or sales. And a lot of these might start to sound familiar because you might have accounts in them outside of Zoom. So the whole point is to bring your outside account into the Zoom world and bring them together so that you can integrate them right into your Zoom meeting. And so that's a brand new feature. Are there any other questions? Yes, Latifa, Marianne, why don't you tell everyone where they find the recorded session? That was a question someone put in the chat to me.
Sure, I'll put it in the chat, but it's at lirealty.com/education. And on the drop-down menu of education, you'll see Wednesday webinars, and all of the webinars that we've conducted since we've been remote will be there. And all of Betsy's webinars will be there since we've had her. This is 5/6 time. So lirealty.com/education in the drop down. Let me get the actual site for you and I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Marianne. For those of you who communicated today that you've never done business in Zoom before, I'm so excited that you're here and that you're starting and that you're curious. Go back to the library that Marianne is putting in the chat and have a good watch, at least on mine. I know there are lots of other topics that have been given over the past definitely year, right, Marianne?
Yes.
But definitely mine are Zoom related, and we've done all kinds of topics so far. I think we started in May, right? Or yeah, May, March, April, May. So definitely go back and watch those. Let me just take a minute, if I may. I know we're almost at the top of the hour to answer, I believe it was Karen's question about the virtual background. I'm not going to demonstrate because my screens can't be captured when I'm doing this, but I do want to lead you through something to do on your own, which is if you click on the little tiny arrow next to your stop video button. Now, this would be for people who are on a computer. I'm going to lead you through that. I can't lead you through both steps, but you can also have a virtual background on a mobile device. But for those on a computer, click on the little arrow next to stop video, little arrow to the right of it, and then go to video settings. And when you go to video settings, on the left-hand side, there will be an option that says backgrounds and filters, backgrounds and filters. And that's where you start the process to turn on your virtual background. Now, I'm not going to lead you through all the screens. If we want, if that's a very popular topic, you could put that in the chat now. If you'd like to see me do a demonstration of this in the future, and it's up to Marianne as well. We always talk about what we would like to do next, but if that's something that's needed, please put that in the chat, and it's a great way to know what future topics you'd like. But this is what I want you to know about virtual backgrounds is that, first of all, the camera on your computer has to be strong enough to handle the virtual background. If it's not, you should purchase yourself a physical green screen, or, some people purchase fabric, which is of the proper color of green. And there is a button in here that says, I have a green screen. And so you can tell Zoom that when it's doing the virtual background, that it is to, with a physical green screen. If your computer is strong enough to do the virtual background without it, then you don't have to use that. You can just simply click the little plus sign in here and you can add images. You can add images. We could do that. We could do a class on that. Add images from outside of Zoom. Some people make their own background with their logo if you want. So there's many options. So that gets you started, at least with time allotted. But I would definitely say this. I want to leave you with this. I'm so glad. Thank you for the comments so far in the chat that you've loved these topics today. I spend a lot of my time in Zoom, and I have this event coming up, which is a digital escape room, and it's an escape room party, and it's Halloween themed. And if you're invited, and I asked Marianne ahead of time, could I talk about this? It's a free event. It's a week from Friday, October 29th. It takes place in Zoom. And why should you come? Because it's a way to see how to have Zoom fun and not fatigue, right? We want to have some Zoom fun, not Zoom fatigue. And if you take your phone up right now and point it, open the camera on your phone, you don't have to take a picture, point it to that QR code. It'll lead you to this website, which is the registration page for the event. And that's all I need is just your name and your email address. And it's going to be a game. So you can actually compete with others, and it all happens in those breakout rooms. So it's a really fun way to see how Zoom can be used for a fun event, and even how you can make up your own types of puzzles and clues, and you'll see how it's all run. So I wanted to tell you about that. It's a interesting way to see how Zoom can be used, and you can put your own twist on it eventually. So thank you for allowing me to do that. And I look forward to meeting up with you again. My contact information is there. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And Marianne, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yes, thank you, Betsy. I'm taking notes every time we're together. It's just so helpful, so informative, and you always give us the way we can apply it to our business, making it relevant and timely. So I took notes, what is in the chat, and we'll discuss the next time. So thank you. And everybody, thank you for joining us. And remember to tune in on Wednesday at 12 noon, and be well and stay safe.
Yeah, bye everybody. Thanks so much, Marianne. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Betsy, this is great.
Thank you, Laureen. Great seeing you again.
Yeah, you too. It's always awesome. I'm going to have to go to your Halloween party.
I can't wait. I'm going to have to put you and Marianne on a team with two others.
Okay.
Gosh.
I think I registered.
Okay, that's
Okay.
great. Just put LIBOR in the team spot when you register, and I'll
We
put you
will.
there. Yes.
We will. Okay. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Marianne.
Okay.